This is what we're going to do, is a type tier list based off of how meta it is. And how good they've been over the course of X period. Alright, so let's begin with Aqua. Where do we put Aqua on the scale? You see, Aqua is like, you know, there's a Mermail card on the picture here, but it's like, where do you, what really is, like, Mermail is like sea serpents. Mermail is, there's like some fish. There is frogs. That's true. Frogs were like kind of high up there. But I think just based off of the fact that there really isn't that many meta decks that have ever been Aqua, other than I guess like Paleo Frog, we're probably going to have to leave this around about the B tier. Because while Paleo in its high time was like a top tier deck, there's probably not enough of a representation for it to be A. So we'll put it as B. Beast Warrior. Beast Warrior I think has to be somewhere in the A tier. All the Lunalight cards are Beast Warrior. Fire Fist is a Beast Warrior deck. Zodiac is all Beast... Okay, right. I think Beast Warrior might have to be S tier now. I forgot about Zoo. Yeah, we're gonna have to put... I think Beast Warrior has to be S tier. Beast Warrior does have to be S tier. Okay. Glad Beast as well? Oh god, like... I forgot about Glad... Dude, Beast Warrior isn't just S tier. Beast Warrior is S plus tier. Like, see if there was something like we could like put higher than S tier. Beast Warrior would actually be S plus. There's like 2 tier 0 decks have been... There are hardly any tier 0 decks in Yu-Gi-Oh! There are hardly any tier 0 decks in Yu-Gi-Oh! And Beast Warrior has had like half of them. That's crazy. Okay. Beast. What about Beast? Beast decks. Purely for Rabbit, we'll make it a C deck. 2 good dangers. That's true. There is dangers. I don't think Beast is really warranted at being very high. Okay, Cyberse. Well, Firewall Dragon is a Cyberse monster. You have the entire archetype of Salamangreat. I think the reason that Cyberse is A tier instead of S tier is because while one of the most powerful decks of all time was like Goki, and that's like, you know, played Firewall, most of the cards were Warriors. And the extra deck was like Fiends with Nightmares. Maybe Gumblar was a Cyberse. Yeah, Gumblar was a Cyberse. But there really isn't enough Cyberse cards in that deck to warrant it being an S tier deck, especially considering how it's just one. Salamangreat, top tier deck. Probably not S tier though. Dino DNA! You see, a few years back on a routine dig for dinosaur fossils, a landslide broke out and nearly broke my leg in two. Ever since, I've had what the doctors call Dino DNA. Alright, Dino is a deck that's always been up there in the meta very recently. It's a currently, like, it's won a YCS recently. It has Dino Rabbit. The question is, do we make this an A deck or an S deck? I'd say it's probably somewhere in the high A tier. I don't know, this deck is not a B tier. This deck is A tier. This deck, Dino is an A tier type in Yu-Gi-Oh! It's always had, like, really good meta decks. It's been the best deck a couple of times, arguably. Dino struck before the structure, and even then it wasn't that good. Dino had Dino Rabbit. What do you mean? Divine Beast. Yeah, that's a D tier. That's just D. I mean, Sphere mode is kind of playable, but that's it. You know, you're not playing a Sphere mode deck, right? You're not playing a Divine Beast deck. You're playing Sphere mode because it's a good side card. Dragons. It's really hard to argue not making Dragon S tier. Dragon Rulers, Thunder Dragon, Dragon Link decks, Ib Turbo decks play dragons. It's hard to argue that Dragon isn't S tier. Dragons have always been Chaos Dragon. Throughout the history of this whole game, dragons have been up there. Thunder Dragon is Thunder. Yeah, they're Thunder monsters, but... Stream. This might come as a little bit of a surprise to you. But when you play like a Guard Dragon Thunder deck, did you know that half the cards are Thunders? And half the other cards are Dragons? Did you know that Thunder Dragon, like the deck, the combo deck, the one that Mare Lair won a 3v3 with, or got second place at KEKW, sorry if I've tread on any toes. Did you know that was mostly a Dragon deck? Eclipse Wyvern, Levianeer, the prize card. Are they Thunder monsters? Okay. Fairy. Outside of Apollosa, I can't really think of like a super meta fairy. I mean, there's Parshath. There's Counter Fairy deck. There's Agents. Agents were tier 1 for a bit. Trickstars is a fairy deck. Madolce has a lot of fairies. It's A or B. It's somewhere here for A or B. I think B is fair. There isn't like a ton of iconic decks that have been as meta as like Salomon Great. But there's a couple of decent ones. All right, Fiend. Fiend decks. How many Fiend decks can you guys name? I mean, there's BA monsters, but like BA wasn't really a Fiend deck. It was a rank 3 turbo deck, and Dante is a warrior. What like Fiend decks are there? Infernoid, Dark World, Infernity. Okay, that's a lot of like big tier meta. The Nightmares are all Fiends. That sounds like A tier to me. A tier? That's an A tier. All right, Fish. So, Fish is a weird one, because you have one of the most broken cards of all time, is a Fish. But did you really have a deck based around it? Yeah, okay, I think it's C tier. Mermail? There's like hardly any Mermail monsters that are Fish. All the good Mermails are Sea Serpents. Insects! Insect. The only meta deck that I can think of for Insect is Inzektor. So based off of pure numbers, Inzektor were very good. But I feel like they're probably a little bit better than Beasts and Fishes. Maxi is an insect, that is true. Maxi is an insect. The Mizo TK was insect. Okay. Inzektor did win Worlds. Okay. I think Insect has to be B tier. While it did win Worlds with Inzektors, while Maxi is an insect, it's not really like you can't just take one deck and then give it like that high of a representation, you know. Whereas like if you look at Dragon, there's been like 10 freaking meta Dragon decks. There's been like, you know, at least like 3 meta Cyberse decks, etc., etc. You know, whereas like Insect is like there's literally just one. You know, machine decks. Name meta machine decks: Cyber Dragon, Orcust, Striker. Okay, Striker can probably pass. Striker passes. Geargia, Karakuri, Spiral. There's a lot of really good machine decks in this game. Needle Fiber, of course, is itself a machine. Wind Up, Hand Loop, played machines. Okay, if we were to make an S plus tier, Beast War would be there, and I think Dragon and Machine would be S tier. So I think we're gonna leave Machine as S. Plant! Let's move on to Plant. Alright, so Plants. Plants are like kind of before my time, so I don't really know how good they are. In terms recently, the most meta plant deck that I can think of is like Sylvan, which was really good. But plants have always been a very solid engine in every deck, and a lot of people play historically, Legacy, they'll play plant format, Tengu plants. I think was that what Billy Break won a YCS and stuff with. A lot of good plant monsters in the game. I think we should put plant as A tier. Psychic. Psychic's a bit of a crap one. Outside of the Teledad engine, I don't really know what you can put, where you put Psychics. Alright, what have we got for Psychic? Let's think about this. So a lot of Cosmo monsters. Metaphors. Ritual Beast. Mech Knights. Ghost Ogre's a very iconic hand trap. Metaphors was a good deck. That's true. Yeah, that's good. Psychic should be A tier. Alright, we'll put Psychic as A tier. For Teledad and Metaphors, we'll put it in A tier. Alright, I don't know much about Mindmaster, but apparently it was good. Sure. Alright, moving on, boys. Pyro! Where do we put Pyro? I really don't know where to put Pyro. Pyro just sucks. What good decks are Pyro? Volcanic. Topped 1 YCS. What else is there? Flamvels? Flamvel did get like an Edison format top, I'm pretty sure. Okay, it's definitely not as bad as Divine Beast, but it's definitely, we'll put it as C tier. I can think of like one deck. Reptiles. There's literally one single good reptile in the game that I can think of, and that's Tsuchinoko. I'm 90% sure Reptile's a D tier deck. Like, there is no good reptiles in the game. There's literally Tsuchinoko, and that's it. Maybe an Evilzar? Worms are reptiles? Did top a regional, I guess. Like, for example, like, Insect is B tier. Like, yeah, obviously, if we're counting only Maxi to represent the entire insect type, it'd probably be S+. But we're not gonna do that just because of one card outside of an archetype. So I'm honestly, I think we're gonna put Reptile down to like. Okay, you get C. You get C. Rocks! Solid rocks, brother. So before Adamancipator, and can you think of a good deck? Gem Knight had a couple of tops. Adamancipator, however, definitely a contender for one of the best decks ever. Very, very good deck. I genuinely can't think of any decks outside of Emancipator. But for now, we're gonna leave it at a comfortable B until Adamancipator makes more of a real life impact. And I don't think Gem FTK really won. It's got a couple of tops. I mean, if we're putting a Worlds winner in the B tier, Rock definitely shouldn't be higher. Spellcasters. I think you have to give me a reason and explain to me why Spellcaster isn't S tier. Lots of Spellcaster, like, meta decks. Pendulum, crazy amount of Pendulum decks. Pepe, Spellbooks, Pendulum FTK, Shadal. There's you'd really like to try and like figure out like how this type isn't S tier is kind of hard. I'm pretty sure Spellcaster is S tier. Sea Serpents. Well, this kind of falls into the same category as where we put Aqua, doesn't it? Like, most of the good Atlanteans and Mermels are Sea Serpents. Lava Volchain is a Sea Serpent. But outside of Mermel, what can you think of for Sea Serpents? Dweller is a Sea Serpent, and that card is very important. Gishki Handloop. Was that a real deck? If I knew how much more impactful Gishki was, I could probably figure out whether it would be A or B, but it's somewhere here. Thunder Monsters. Thunder is a really bad type. They've had one meta deck. I really don't see how Thunder is higher than B tier. They've had one meta deck. And even then, it was only really good because of the dragons. Do you know what I mean? What? Like, this is the level that you're being reduced to when you have to suggest what as the flagship type for representing, right? Like, yes. Don't, like, when you think of dragons, you think of, like, Levianeer and the baby Chaos Dragons. What's the best Thunder monster? Like, one deck, and outside of that deck, what do you have? What Giraffe? I guess Denkosek is the Thunder, but, like, you know, we can't really carry this based on one card, so let's go with B. I need to figure out why Warrior isn't S tier. How many Warrior decks are there? Well, Ray's a Warrior, so that kind of counts. Goki, obviously. Biggest, best, most broken Warrior deck. There's a lot of Warrior Necros monsters. That's true. A bunch of the PK cards. Rongo. Diamond Dude. Lot of good Warriors in the game. A lot of good Warriors. It's actually not as good as I thought it would be, but it's definitely still S tier. I think it might be the worst S tier. Outside of just Goki, but even then, like, Goki was like a mix. Alright, moving on to Winged Beasts. Winged Beasts. We have Black Wings. We have... Raid Raptors aren't very good. It was literally just the Raid Raptor Link and the XC that made Luna good. Similar, I mean, these are all shit tier decks, right? Like, I think just for Blackwing winning Worlds, we can maybe put it as A tier. Should it be A tier? Dragoonity? Okay, Dragoonity, yeah, okay, alright. We'll put Winged Beast as A tier. Just for the Dragoonity inclusion as well. Alright. We'll go for Winged Beast. Was Gazaris a Winged Beast? There you go. One of the tier 0 decks in the game's boss monster was a Winged Beast. Yeah, there you go. Look, Steam, Gofu, Zephyros. Bruh, you can't tell me Winged Beast isn't A tier. It's got 2 good archetypes, and it's got a ton of really good support cards in general. Alright, let's move on to Worm. Well, I guess Masterpiece is a worm, but is it really a worm deck? Wait, all the True Draco monsters are worms, aren't they? All the True Draco decks are cards are worms. What else is there? Danglong. That's a worm. It's definitely not S tier, but it's probably A tier, right? True Kings, some Zephyros. Alright, finally, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to zombies. Where do we put zombies? Well, Eldritch is a zombie deck. I'm trying really hard to think of where else zombies is put. Like, what other zombie decks are there? I can't remember. I mean, it feels like it's probably before my time. I mean, I remember that Lightsworn Grass deck played zombies. Zombie Master was just really good. Zombie was like a really good early tier deck, maybe. Back in the day, Minerva Swarm did play a lot of zombies. That's all I remember. There's Plague Spreader, Zombie Synchro. A lot of the best hand traps in the game are zombies. That is true. Definitely not S tier. I don't think. But it's probably A tier. Probably A tier? Probably A tier. A tier is fine. Alright. Well, we've come to the end of our tier maker, boys. I can't think of anything that's particularly bad here. Really, it's just trying to boil down where exactly we put, you know, maybe some specific, like maybe Dino's a little bit too high.